Welcome to the Voices of Otolaryngology podcast series, where we spotlight diverse perspectives and insights within the field of otolaryngology. I'm your host, Rahul Shah. Let's jump into it. Welcome to Voices of Otolaryngology. In my world, some days you just get lucky. So I'm here at Oto Forum and I ran into Dr. Yen. What a pleasure. Very active with our academy, but also active in his practice. Spoiler alert, I was a medical student in 1998, rotated at University of Pennsylvania for a month, and this guy was a chief resident then. Outstanding then as ever. Welcomed students. I remember fondly sitting in the cafeteria with, I don't remember their names, Adam and some other folks. It was terrific, but it's neat how paths cross again.
It does go deep.
Dr. Yen today, for about 15, 20, 25 minutes, is going to talk about a term that you helped us coin in our specialty with the hybrid nature of your practice. Right. Why don't you take it away and I'm going to help guide the discussion. Dr. Yen.
Thanks, Rahul. The term that we use to describe our practice is Privademics. And I think we use that term because to me it helps reflect how our circumstances change. Classically, there is a line between or a concept or a structure of private practice versus or separate from academics. But to me, the reality moving forward is some of those lines blur where there's a lot of overlap, thus the concept of Privademics. And some of that comes because us in private practice, looking after patients, we might more stereotypically be perceived as thinking about the business of medicine. On the other hand, so much of what we do in active healthcare is teaching for our patients. And it's great to have a chance to be involved with learners in healthcare as well. So the institution that we're partnered with, St. Luke's, they have a medical school, there's other residents. So we've always had folks coming through. So the prospect of saying, hey, wait, would it be feasible for us to get involved in residency and actually train the future otolaryngologists as well? It sounded crazy, but that evolved, making us truly academic in the sense that I think if you're engaged in teaching, right? So we're living the concept of Privademics, being in practice, but also actively engaged in the education of colleagues.
All right, so let's define it again, because you said it. How'd you say from Privademics?
I don't think there's a yeah, you could pronounce it either. Well, I call it Privademics.
Privademics. All right. Privademics.
Yep.
Private and academic. It rolls off the tongue. Privademics. Right. Okay. So you have your practice. Can you describe just your practice? How many folks they are?
Sure. Currently,
and where are you located?
So currently my practice is known as Specialty Physician Associates. We're part of a larger organization called ENT Specialty Partners, but Specialty Physician Associates is based in Pennsylvania. We do have one office in New Jersey. So currently we have 13 ENTs. We have 7 allergists. We have 1 pulmonologist who focuses primarily on sleep. To me, it's not the specialty or the title. A provider is a provider is a provider. So I very firmly believe in including the other providers in our organization, the audiologists, the nurse practitioners, the PAs. So we're about a 41 provider group.
41 clinicians, providers.
That's right.
And then you probably have 100 some staff.
That's about right. So sum total about 110.
Okay. And thanks for the brief answers. I love it because it can get me into the meat and potatoes.
Sure.
So then you have academic programs that you're affiliated with. You mentioned St. Luke. Talk to me.
Yes. So as our private practice has grown and evolved, we're lucky enough to grow together with a healthcare system called St. Luke's University Health Network. So even though we're in private practice, we are the ENT and allergy service providers for a whole $3.5 billion healthcare network.
And allergy, not just.
Yes, that's correct.
So who rotates with you? And talk a little bit about that.
So besides the medical students, besides PA students from another institution called DeSales University that rotate with us, we have learners in terms of graduate medical education from general surgery, emergency medicine, transitional, family practice, right? And that rotate with us. In addition to, at this point, currently our own otolaryngology residents.
Okay, so now my mind exploded because I'm going to start racing with thoughts. That's a lot of oversight. Who does that for your practice?
Well, that's
a lot of paperwork. That's a lot of evaluations.
It is, and it's one of these things because it brings us joy and it's important, but it does demand resources, right? So in any given month, we might have 25 learners with us in a month, which
is 25 evals, and if you give them all 5s, that could take an hour to do.
So it's substantial, and we admit we're in the process of continue to work out how to sort this out in terms of resources and so on, right? So with less, and it brings us joy, but it is work. With less learners, there was a period where, okay, what you can devote, what you can do, but as the responsibility grows, it becomes one of those things that becomes necessary to work out or sort out with our institution, right? Nobody's greedy or pushy, but we want to be fair.
Oh yeah.
Because it's reality, right? And that's a nod to the private practice aspect. We have no margin, no
You
mission.
have bills to pay.
That's correct. No margin, no mission, right?
And you can single one group out, I don't mind. Does one group help you with productivity? You could say, yes, the medical students help me take a history. Yes, the general surgeons help me take out drains. Does one group actually drive productivity, or overall it does slow you down?
In fairness, the only group that helps us with productivity is truthfully our own otolaryngology residents, because it's continuity of care.
Course, yeah.
It makes sense, right? They're within our specialty, right? The other learners, it's nice to have them, but for the most part,
you're teaching the basics of what an ear looks like.
That's exactly
what slows you down.
And don't get me wrong, for the broader practice perspective, I've been in practice now for 25 years. Many of the primary care physicians in the community may have passed through.
Absolutely. Drives referrals.
Right, as family practice residents. So
that's a good point.
That's been a nice piece too, that I bring up and remind our associates with as we're devoting effort to these folks, right? That's not just teaching for the joy of teaching and teaching for better patient care. There is some return as well in terms of, people growing up to be referring providers.
So what you nailed it, and shame on me for being so short-sighted. I think that's myopic, but that's why we took the I out of EENT. Okay, I don't know what it is, but I was too short-sighted. You're right, because you're feeding that ecosystem. Go back to the otolaryngology residents. Let's focus on them.
Sure.
How many? How do they rotate with you? What?
Yes, so we were awarded the residency in 2021.
I like that word. That's a really generous word.
Well, no, it's one of these things, and it was a deliberate choice as well. It should be, because it takes a lot of resources, and we don't get to judge whether we're right or appropriate in terms of case volume.
Yeah, and awarded by who?
It's just by the ACGME and the residency review committee.
So the RRC ACGME said.
That's right. Okay. And I think this information is out there due to AJ Tompkins' work, primarily heading up the
we call him AJ Workforce Tompkins.
Right. Which I'm pleased to serve on as a member myself.
Yeah.
But from that, a closer look at workforce and our needs at the new otolaryngology programs in the last 13 years, we're one of those new programs. So we were awarded in 2021. We were awarded with 2 spots.
And you say we, so then St. Luke's is your academic.
That's correct.
Signatory.
That's correct.
Okay.
So and it's an interesting.
But you're the clinical site.
That's right. So our private practice comprises the entire faculty.
That's my point.
For this residency, right? So it's this hybrid thing, but we have to be based in an academic institution because of, the support and all the infrastructure that's necessary in terms of a designated institution.
So chicken or the egg? I'm thinking back to 1998. I have no idea how we ever saw patients, because him and I could do this forever. but you were quicker back then. So chicken or the egg? They came to you, you came to them. It must have been a big leap for you as your 41 providers.
Right. It was a fascinating piece, because right now, I'll give them credit that they were always forward looking in terms of saying, hey, if there's a problem or challenge in terms of workforce or anything else, how do we address that, right? So I give them credit for saying, we want to do a medical school, because their belief was that if students come to train and learn in medical school in the local community, let's be honest, the retention rate is great.
And local community, where are you based out of?
So Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
All right, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So 2019, they came to you.
Yep.
And talked. I'd be scared.
Well, in fairness, it was probably prior watching this evolution, because as they had other residency programs, and then expanded from what you might think of ones that were perhaps more commonplace, family medicine, emergency medicine.
Exactly.
But as they rolled on to say, wait, if we grow our GME program to address subspecialty needs, so an orthopedic residency, that was of the surgical subspecialties, that was the first surgical subspecialty where they got a residency.
So then they came to you all.
Yeah, and right now, as our group was lucky enough to grow along with the network, and frankly, lucky enough to have subspecialty expertise across the range of fellowships in our specialty. So we're lucky enough to have multiple docs in our group fellowship trained in head and neck, in laryngology, in rhinology, in facial plastics. So as we recognize that we had the team and really the interest to do it, right? Okay, it's having all the resources, the interest and the commitment to teach. So we said, you know what? We think this is great. This is worthwhile. We're going to do it, right?
But there was a lot of thought. You're summarizing probably a lot of business meetings.
Yeah, a lot of thought and a lot of process. And in fairness, we didn't get awarded the residency the first time we applied it.
Cool.
And I'm not surprised.
Thanks for that being upfront.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised because it's a process, right? To know how
you had to tweak your submission and your.
That's exactly right.
So you 2 residents a year.
That's right.
God, that's amazing. Yeah. Amazing. And so tell me about they rotate with you. They are with you.
Yeah, I mean, they are our residents.
It's like you've got 2 new children.
Right. They're our residents full time. So we grow to a full family, if you will, starting in July when we have a full complement of 10 residents.
10, yeah.
That's correct. So yeah, very much like you hit the nail on it. It is truly a family in a different way. But we embrace the responsibility, and we're proud of being entrusted to train our future and do the best for these learners. And one thing that we'll say, if I may, about our program, we try to be deliberately different because you and I cross paths at University of Pennsylvania. We're blessed with these storied institutions with residencies. We can't recreate, fill in the blank of the name that you want. We can't recreate the storied academic history and offerings of these other programs that we're lucky to have. So we're not trying to recreate that. We're trying to build a unique thing. And one of the things that I see from the workforce perspective, this is my opinion, I think we're lucky to have a lot of colleagues who are subspecialty trained, who want to pursue that expertise in an urban environment. And I think that's great. But I perceive a need workforce-wise for well-trained generalists in community settings. And versus just acknowledging that or believing it, we said, look, let's try to address that. So the defined focus of our residency, we're not barring or limiting anybody from pursuing what they wish in terms of subspecialty expertise. But I believe that our mission in our residency is to train individuals who are capable of going out into practice and providing superb ENT care in any community in America. And that is our stated goal. And we feel that we fail our residents if we're not doing that. And frankly, we feel that we fail the specialty if we're not doing that. So that's what we're geared towards.
Incredible statement. And I love what you just said. We don't have the storied academic history. So let's not do FOMO and try to do that. Let's be unique. So I am let's say I'm a MS4, 4th year medical student sitting, interviewing with you. Who is the chair of the program?
That would be me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. So I'm sitting with the chair of the program. How do you sell me on that vision? Because I agree with you, but how do you make a med student understand that? You're part of a journey and they're developing.
Right. So to me, it's like
a David and Goliath.
Well,
I mean, you're agile. You bring something very different to the table.
It's one of these things. It becomes a question of asking individuals, what are they looking for? Okay. And,
for a fit, you're looking for a fit.
What are they? And I think there's a lot of emphasis on research, which I think is great. Even part of the Privademics story is we are actively engaged.
I think you and I wrote a paper together.
We're actively engaged in research. So I'd say that. But not every one of our colleagues in the future really wants to publish additionally and be involved in that. And you know what? That's okay.
So you kind of feel that out.
And to a certain degree, nowadays we need and want that. Okay. And it's important in terms of training and getting there, but not everyone needs to make a commitment to be a research scientist for the rest of their career. Okay. So it's an open discussion for individuals to really reflect, what's the goal? What do you see yourself really wanting to do as an otolaryngologist in the future? Right. And so we believe that to a certain degree, candidates will sub-select out to say, hey, wait, this is an experience that we think might be best for me. And there's a lot of discussion. Let's think about where we're at today. We're at the Oto Forum, right? A big focus of this is private practice, of course, and the business of medicine. All right. If we think it's worthwhile to come back to learn now, there's a lot of discussion. Should we more that education earlier in the process?
And that's been a big ENT Connect chat about that. Right. You know what I love what you're saying is, instead of making every program homogenous, there's some that will say, we'll give you an extra year or two to get a grant-funded research. You go do that. And you're saying our program is for a unique individual. You come here and this is what you're going to learn.
That's exactly.
So you'll be graduating your first class next May?
2026 will be our first graduating class.
Yeah, about a year from now.
Yep.
How are you feeling?
I'm excited.
They've got good hands, good minds,
Yeah.
good compassion.
And I'm glad we've another year. It's a 5-year residency for a reason, okay?
Yeah.
But I feel very good. And and you mentioned the word like another family, and Keith and
Very stressful.
But Doctors Conti and Freeman are our children professional, if you will.
Those are your graduating.
That's exactly right. Those are our current PGY4s going. So I'm super excited for to see what they go on to accomplish in the future. I'm very, very excited.
As chair of the program, what's been your proudest resident moment? It's like taking a first step. Was it that myringotomy tube, the parotid, the PTA, when they managed anaphylaxis, when they did a slash tracheostomy, when they called you and they put it all together? What's one of your proudest moments? And don't use the resident's name. Just tell me the moment.
I would go
David Yan, you're a loss for words. I did it, man. I stumped you. Just give me one proud moment.
It happens more than once. It's when patients recognize the care and expertise of our residents. That's what I'm proudest about.
Tell me a story. Yeah, tell me a story.
So it's difficult in patients, ambulatory. Who's actually the touch point? We can all reflect back on our residents.
Yes.
Who's there? Who does the patient identify as their doctor? Right. Okay. So that piece with the continuity of care, when they take the time to say, you know what, your team came in and really made a difference, that comes up all the time.
So when you're rounding, they'll say that. Oh, Dr. Yen, we love Dr. Conti.
Okay. So this happened to me in the office on Tuesday, where I saw a patient, and it's a common thing for epistaxis. But if you're the one and you're not in healthcare and blood's fountaining for your face, let's be honest, it's an emergency.
Of course.
So to have a skilled provider with experience and a calm demeanor come in and help you in extremis, that's something that's memorable. So that's why I use moments, if you will, because it comes up. So my intern, not saying her name, was in the office with me on Tuesday. I went to see a patient. She said the team that came in was wonderful. And I looked at the note and I saw, oh, this individual saw her. So I opened the door. I said, come on in. I said, this is your patient. All right. And the patient, you could see her expression. So those are the moments that I'm proudest of.
Yeah. Touche, man. That gives me chills. And you chose an intern, not a PGY4.
Well,
I mean, good for you.
Well, that's the honest example
you're
from this week.
Right.
That's why I paused to say moment. It's a moment, but that's what occurrence this week. And I have to concede it's invigorating, right? Because we've been doing this for a while. Things can get trite or the same, or pick your term. But seeing this, it reminds you why you're doing what you're doing, right? And so that's a huge upside of the residency, which goes beyond any kind of other return, if you will. That's a big component of it.
What's been, and be careful medical legally here, what's been the worst phone call, the scariest phone call? So when the chief of cardiothoracic calls you and said, what did, I'll pick on Dr. Conti. What's the other resident who'll be great?
Dr. Freeman.
Dr. Freeman. What did Dr. Conti do? What did Dr. Freeman do? Or what's been where you haven't had to defend them, but what's been one of the hardest things? Is it growth? Is it thinking about making sure they hit their numbers? What keeps you up at night is in this Privademics world? Privademics. I still can't say it.
This extends beyond our residents, and I think I'm going to say this, and others could disagree. I think often us physicians, we're our own worst enemy. Okay, and a lot of the things. This is why I give you a lot of credit for what you're up to and what you're doing to drive team behavior. Right. A lot of our education, if you're strong, you can do it by yourself and so on. But no matter how talented you are, you can always accomplish more when you're a team.
So you're driving through Lehigh Valley and you think about the residency, you're thinking about a team.
Yeah, it is.
How the one works with the four.
It's super, super important because look, we've got challenges facing us. I'm not negative about it. I'm excited. Challenges are good. Okay. But if I have to face challenges, I'd rather do so with a team. Right. So those are the things that I really see. There's been no like horror show kind of event with the residents, but trying to really
but the teamwork,
but to deliberately educate them in this piece. So things will come up that are just op stuff, right? Like that I haven't had to do in the longest time yet because we've created this residency. There's not this tradition. This is what happens with the call schedule.
Yes.
Okay. So my chiefs were chiefs when they're in.
That's right.
So figuring out the senior call schedule and the dynamic and how it goes and that work in team behavior, that's been a challenge. But to me, I think it's super, super important.
That gets me so excited though, because you look back 20 years from now and then the schedule you create might become anachronistic, might be the mantra, but you're creating that today.
Yeah.
Right? How do the Chiefs oversee the fours and the threes and the twos?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Incredible. Looking back at the 4 to 5 year journey, what advice do you give to our otolaryngologists out there who might be being approached by programs, because I think you and I know we can't say the word Privademics. As we look forward, Privademics might be the future. And you're onto something. What advice do you give our otolaryngologists?
I do believe it's a future, okay? And right now, it's not my phrase or comment. A colleague just said to me, and I'm sure it's used by others, but no margin, no mission. So you could have the purest commitment to science and the greater good in education, but we all work in a world where we have to be mindful of resources and expense. It's just fact, okay? So I think this drives things towards Privademics because, you know, if you're on the purest academic model, and we see this exist. I'll speak about my colleague Amos Takashima, who's chair at Houston Methodist. You know what Moss is creating there with an academic center, but otolaryngologists in the community to create a foundation or base to refer in, right? That makes sense to me. So you could argue that's coming from the academic side, leaning towards private practice, because it's necessary. You need the patient volume, the flow, the referrals. Similarly for us, if we're straight line private practice, what allows us to grow and do more? Looking at the residency, another piece of it, point blank, is recruitment. We're creating product for the future. Now, not every one of our residents should join us, right? Okay. But I know I've got friends across the country that are pretty happy that we have the program. So there's that piece of it. So I do think it's the future, and whether the future is Privademics or looking above or over the barriers or the boundaries that might have been historic between different things, I think those are going away. And this is one look or one way that may be happening.
Be careful when you answer these because they're publicly available podcasts. They're not behind a firewall. What's your relationship with your academic mothership? Is it, as they always are, a little bit oil and water, a little bit friction, or is it all jumping through fields of poppy and flowers?
You know, I think with any partnership, right? If you look at a marriage or a business partnership or anything else, it takes commitment from both people. And it is by definition imperfect, okay? But if certain things are there, shared goals, some reasonable flexibility, a commitment to making it work, it does, right? And this has come up it comes up in an interesting fashion. So, you know, for us in the private practice side, if we commit resources to teaching and education, if I was formally speaking employed by that academic center, I might get protected time for the education. Okay, you're 0.1 or 0.2, you know, whatever.
Definitely would, yeah.
Okay, right now in the private practice world, well, how does that work, right? So if we're going to devote time, how's their income recovery or compensation to make up for the time that,
and the downstream impact, right? I mean,
so there's that process of sorting that out with the institution because they do receive compensation for the residency.
Absolutely.
Yet we're doing
but it's not going to make you whole.
Yeah, we're doing the work. So how do we sort that out? So it is very much an ongoing partnership where there's some give and take. And like any in partnership, it's imperfect. But I've been proud of the relationship that our group has made. And it's one of these unspoken things too, like how does this work for us? We've really benefited by growing alongside that institution. I have to say that, right? So it's exactly that. Imperfect for sure. Not all poppies, but not all nightmares either. Right?
Yeah, but it takes two special parties, and you and your group are special in dancing with them. So kudos to you.
And applying this philosophy of adaptability and capacity for change, you know, for me, I believe that's the defining characteristic of youth. You don't have to think about it when you're younger because your shoe size is changing and your shirt size is changing, right? And then where we're at, right, the change isn't always good.
It's still changing, buddy.
Yeah, but
wrong way.
Right, but so it's a constant. You don't have to think about it when you're younger. So to say, okay, if that's a constant, I'm going to embrace it. No, it's not all good, but I'm going to embrace rather than sitting still. And I think philosophically, there's the piece with the residency, but one of the nice things you're asking about what we may offer, since we're touching on that, is perhaps a bit more flexibility than a traditional academic institution in terms of engagement with industry, which I concede is near and dear to my heart, okay? Because I believe, right, to have the tools that we need to take care of the patients that we wish to do, take care of, and do a better job at it requires cooperation.
So you partner with industry, cooperate with them to drive innovation, educate residents.
That's exactly right.
Value add.
And there's overlap here in terms of exposure to new technology, or better yet, a chance to get engaged with feedback and development, whether it's clinical research or other things. And that aspect of education, I believe, is particularly unique to our residency, that our residents get more of that exposure than they might elsewhere to sort of see how the sausage is made, if you will, if it comes to biodesign or improving devices or other things, right? Which is a nice thing.
Yeah, wow. Could you let our members know your various hats or roles you play in the Academy? And I can remind you if you forget some.
Sure. So I'm happy and lucky enough to serve on the nominating committee for Academy, which is an elected position. So I'm grateful for the trust and the votes of colleagues, and especially I think that's an important role. So I'm very happy to serve in that capacity. Here as I'm a member, of course, of the Otolaryngology and Private Practice section, and I'm the OPPS representative to the ENT PAC Board of Directors. So I serve in that capacity as well. Lucky enough to have some committee membership. I serve on the task force. The workforce task force for our specialty. I mentioned it earlier, the amount of work and effort that AJ Tompkins put in is tremendous. I'm pleased to be able to try to do my little part to contribute, as well as the other members of that task force. I serve on the medical devices and committee as well, right? I said I have an interest in innovation and new things, so to have a chance to participate in that regard, I do there as well. Other parallel organizations, the American Rhinological Society. I'm a member, lucky enough to serve in the section of rhinology and private practice as the research chair for the rhinology and private practice section of the Academy. Again, touching on this.
Very active in what you do. And so we so appreciate it. This podcast was to speak to an innovator out there who's helping us understand how private and academics move forward in the future. And it's just really my honor. I knew back when I was a med student, you're a special guy, and seeing what you've built is really cool. My pledge is to visit you in the Lehigh Valley and really see how the program works.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime.
I will be there. I'll be there. Congratulations. Really awesome what you built, Dr. Yen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We hope today's episode sparked some fresh ideas. If it resonated with you, please subscribe and share it with friends. Have thoughts or suggestions? Use the feedback form in the show notes. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to follow us on social media for highlights, behind-the-scenes content, and updates. Thanks for listening. See you next time.